Hello fellow orchid lovers, it's Danielle here with a video about what I look for when buying a Phalaenopsis and what you should potentially avoid when picking out a plant for yourself. So I know that I've stated in the past, I'm realizing this is a little crooked. I know I've stated in the past that I don't typically buy Phalaenopsis orchids from my local supermarkets anymore, and that's because they do water their plants with ice cubes, and I more frequently than not end up with a rescue mission on my hand, and so therefore I try to avoid them. But I went into the supermarket this weekend and they had 4 plants on the discount table, and of the 4 that were there, these were the 3 that I purchased, partly because I know I can save them because I have a fair amount of experience with them, but also one of them looked like it was actually in good shape. There was the 4th one was not in good shape, and so I didn't purchase it because I didn't want to waste my money. But they are typically pretty expensive. As you can see, they usually go for around $23 each, and they were reduced to just under $6 each. And so for the under the price of one, less than the price of one, I got 3. So I said, you know what, this is a perfect opportunity to make a video about what, should be indicators to you as far as the health of the plant before you purchase it. So the first one that I'm going to show you, and I just want to apologize in advance if I say the wrong word or I have trouble speaking. I do have an autoimmune problem, and it does affect my speech sometimes. Sometimes I'll slur words or I'll stutter, so I apologize if that does happen. I'm already remaking this video once because the last one was a disaster. So let's see if I can get through this one without too many big problems. Okay, so this orchid is, I unpotted her right away because she has a fair amount of signs that something is not right with this plant. So if you are a new grower, or you're not a new grower and you don't want to buy a plant that you have to babysit or potentially, save if they go into a downward spiral, this might be one plant that you'd want to avoid for these reasons. So you can see that this plant has several leaves that are yellowing and falling off. They're limp and not happy. There is evidence, if you look at the stem right here, that there was another leaf right here, an older, more mature leaf that's gone. That raises a red flag. Typically, when an orchid is generating new structures, the older structures on the bottom will yellow and fall off. That's normal, and that's fine. But as you can see here, it's a little bit more than that. She lost a newer leaf, which is a sign of a problem. Not necessarily 100%, because there could have been something wrong with that leaf. It could have been injured and she dropped it because it was no longer helping the plant. So if all the other leaves are fine and green and healthy and firm, her losing one of her older, newer structures is not that big of a deal. But the fact that she has 3 more leaves that are coming right after it is the sign that something could be awry with the plant. So you want to make sure that if you see something like this, you may want to pass over this plant if you're a new grower, or you don't want an orchid that's in, the state of something going on. I don't really know what it is that this orchid was through, but she was on the discount table, which means that she's been in the store for a fair amount of time. There is some evidence on her roots, which it's harder to see when the roots are pale, that, she does have some burn from the ice cubes. So that could be part of the problem, but it's probably not the whole problem. See, there's some more burn there. She's been battered a little bit. She's got some more wounds. So, she's not too happy, and it could just be, shock. It could be a lot of things that's making her do this. But if you're a new grower, just pass over this orchid. Unless you want a rescue mission, unless you want to try to rescue an orchid, or if she is in bloom and you see the blooms and you love the blooms and you've never seen, something else that looks like this and you want to try to save her, go for it. But if you don't want to deal with an orchid that's in a sorry state or having a tantrum, just pass over something like this. More than one leaf yellowing and some newer structures missing is not a good sign. The next one is this one. I'm going to show you this one. This one, you know, to the first glance looks very healthy, unless you're an experienced grower and you see the problem already. She has a new leaf here, so that's a good sign. Her leaves are nice and firm. She doesn't have any yellowing bottom leaves. She does have an older spike, but it's, you know, it's evident that it's, you know, been in bloom. And this is one of her newer spikes that I did cut to see if I could get to rebloom. Her roots, there is a fair amount of burn, as you can see from the ice cubes. So, you know, that's something you want to keep in mind. If you see a large quantity of the roots burned like that, there's a very good chance that the orchid's going to lose those roots. Now, there's more than likely quite a significant amount of roots down in the pot still, but she's probably going to lose some of these top roots because of the burn. So if you don't want to get an orchid that's going to lose its roots, and you see that most of the roots on top of the pot are burnt like that, pick another one. Don't pick this one. This is what an experienced grower is going to see, and it's going to raise a red flag. Now, that could be nothing. It could be that she got nicked. It could be that there was a bug that just took a bite out of her. It could be that maybe when they put the ice cubes on here, they weren't careful, and one of the ice cubes was resting against her, and so therefore she's got this burn here. But to me, that could be the sign of stem rot. So if you're a new grower and you don't know a whole lot about orchids, and you pick up an orchid and it has anything like that on the stem, you should probably pick another plant. It may be nothing, but it could be stem rot. And stem rot, my last orchid that had stem rot, I wasn't able to save. It was extensive and she didn't make it. This is also pretty high up on the stem. You know, it's not down here. So to me, this is a risk. If you want to take that risk, go right ahead. But this is something you should be looking for if you just want a healthy plant and you see something like this, move on to the next plant. I'm going to, when I unpot her, just kind of peel back this leaf a little bit. I have tweezers that I use to do that so I don't hurt the other structures. I'm just going to try to peel back this a little bit and take this area out so I can see what's under there. It does feel slightly soft, so that is very concerning for me. But overall, for me, because I have a lot of experience with saving these girls, as long as that's not extensive stem rot, she does have a new leaf growing there. She's got a new spike coming here. Let me see if I can get this to focus. Can you see that there? See? That's a new spike coming right there. So, you know, she is otherwise in pretty good health. She's got the firm leaves, new leaf, and spike. The negatives are that she has burn on her roots and a possible stem rot problem. So again, if you're looking for a healthy orchid and you don't want to deal with a sick orchid or a rescue mission, perhaps you should pass this one over. Now, the next one I'm going to show you is, in my mind, an example of a healthy orchid in a relative sense, because I really don't know, because she's been, you know, at that store for a while, so they could have done anything to her. But for the most part, all signs are pointing to good. She doesn't have a new leaf, but her spike is still healthy, even though it's not in bloom, and it's going to rebloom. She has a spike there starting, or a secondary branch. Jet, could you not right now? You always know when mommy's filming. Hey. So that's a good sign. So as you can see, her spike was dying back and she decided to put out a branch. So just a little side point, if you are going to buy an orchid in bloom, you're going to want to try to pick an orchid that still has buds on the spike. The reason for that is if you pick an orchid that's in full bloom, you don't know how long she's had those blooms, and you may get her home and she only has a week left with those blooms, and then she's going to start dropping them. And you're going to spend this money on this gorgeous plant, and she's going to start dropping her blooms almost as soon as you get her home. If you buy a plant that still has buds, she still has several weeks to possibly even several months worth of blooms for you. So that's just a little, tip to keep in mind if you're going to buy an orchid in spike. So other things that I see about this plant that, other than the foliage being in good condition and the spike still being healthy and her wanting to put out a branch, she does also have another spike coming here. Let me see if I can turn it towards the light and get you a good, my hands also shake really badly and I'm sorry. Come on, focus. Oh boy, it's not getting better, it's getting worse. Can you see that there? There you go. So that's another spike coming. So that's another good sign. Now, some of the negative things about this plant is you can see here, some of her roots are dying. And again, that's more than likely because of the ice cubes. She does have some root burn here. It did look like there was a fair amount of bark on top. So, hopefully the burn from the ice cubes is not extensive and she won't have like a completely destroyed root system. But that's, some of the negatives that I saw with her. So when you are picking out an orchid, the negatives that you want to look for and make sure that you're paying attention to is if there's more than 2 leaves yellowing and falling off at a time, that may be a sign that something's not right with the orchid. If some of the higher up leaves are yellowing and falling off, that's another sign that there's something wrong with the orchid. If you see signs of possible stem rot, that's another sign that something's wrong with the orchid. And then also too, if you see a lot of the roots that are burnt from the ice cubes, those roots are probably going to die. So you may have a rescue mission on your hands. So you might want to avoid that. The things you want to look for are nice, healthy, firm structures. You want the leaves to be nice and firm, not limp. You want to see if there's signs of new structures. So new leaves, branches on spikes, new spikes coming, new roots coming out. Those are all positive signs. And also that there's limited damage on the roots. So if you see a plant and one of the roots looks burnt, but the rest all look pretty good, or a quarter of the roots look burnt, but the rest all look pretty good, then, you more than likely will be able to have that orchid in your care with no problem. So the last thing I wanted to show you was just something that I found ironic. So this is the tag, if I can pick it up, that comes with the orchid. So as you can see here, it says water with 3 ice cubes once a week, which we all know is not a good idea. But it actually tells you on this tag why it's not a good idea. If you go further down, it says to keep the orchid at temperatures of 65 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, never below 55 degrees Fahrenheit. What temperature is an ice cube? Last I heard, 32 degrees. So it's saying to water it with a 32 degree ice cube, but never expose it to under 55 degrees. Slight contradiction. But it's a good marketing ploy because in a couple of years when your plants die from the ice cubes you've been feeding it, you buy another one and then they're assured of their money. So I just thought that was interesting and kind of funny and I wanted to share it with you. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you're all doing really well and I will talk to you all next time.